Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of Azure Cloud Talk. We have a Brian episode today. How's it going, Brian?
You want the truth? No, yeah, it's going great.
We got spicy Brian in the chat today. Uh,
Just
so, Brian, I
tired,
thought
Brian.
that's fair. I thought it'd be fun to discuss. I think the AI Skills Fest is going on. I noticed a few exams are getting updated. I saw the English exam for the AI 102 is being updated, I believe, on the 30th of April. If you go to the exam walkthrough or the high level guide, it's there. But I think that leads to a bigger question of how do you help people stay up to date when these exams aren't stagnant, right? The content's not stagnant. Azure is not stagnant. How do you continue being, for lack of a better term, relevant in the test taking world and knowing what content's going to be changed, come and go?
Sure. Well, one thing that's good is that once you pass the exam, you don't really have to care if the exam's getting changed, right? It's just leading up to the point where you're actually going to study for this thing, right? Like you're going to take it. So let's say you were in the middle of studying so the AZ204, this is April 11th as we're recording this, is AZ204 literally refreshed today. And so the exam has changed. So if you took it, last week, it might be completely different than what your experience would be this week. Now, granted it's probably not completely different, but who knows? It's really a crapshoot what you get on a test anyway. So to kind of circle around, well, how do you stay relevant? Well, if you're studying for the exam, obviously the Learn modules are updated. And as long as you can find the Learn modules you're looking for the exam you're looking for, you're good to go. And for those of us who've passed the exam, the new process of renewal to keep current is actually quite helpful and beneficial. So every year we have to renew our certifications. It's a free process. Once you have the certs, you don't have to pay anything else. The other thing about the renewal is that it's a 45-minute allowed time, but it really doesn't usually take that long. If you know the material, it usually takes maybe 20 to 30 minutes to get through whatever number of questions they give you. But they also give you the renewal link, gives you the list of all the modules, and you can see if you had them all completed, what's changed since you last looked at it. Or a lot of times there'll be new modules that are added that give you, this is the new stuff I need to know for this exam. So that's a really good way to stay up to date with it. Most people probably don't care as much about staying up to date with the test as someone who trains for it, like me, because they don't care if it changes because they already passed the exam, or in the rare case where it changes in the middle. So if you are right now currently studying for AI 102 as part of your Microsoft AI Skills Challenge for the next 50 days, just note that a few things might change. But what's really cool is they also give you the study guide. And on the study guide, towards the bottom, usually, well, the first part is always like, this is the stuff that's valid. So even the AI 102 has a section right now, I'm just looking at it, it says skills measured as of April 30th, 2025. So even right now, let's say you decided that you were going to take this test. You're probably not taking it, unless you're ready right now, you're probably not taking it before April 30th. So put it on your calendar for May 15th or whatever. Give yourself 5-6 weeks. And study every night, but look at the stuff that's in the skills for what's going to probably be on there. So we're looking at an audience profile, it tells you kind of who you should be, but then like the skills at a glance, and it gives you these weighted things. So all the exams give you a weighted skills. And I always tell people when I'm training, look at that as your guidepost to where to start. So for example, this surprises me. I'm looking at the public document. This is not insider information or anything like that. Not that I would have any anyway, but just being clear that this is publicly posted on the AI site. The skills at a glance says that implementing an agentic solution is only 5 to 10% of the exam potential. So that's a very low percentage of an exam with, let's say, anywhere from 40 to 70 questions, right? I don't know how many questions will be on your exam, but it's usually about a 2 to 2.5 hour exam. So how many ever questions make sense for that amount of time, right? The surprise for me there is because of what is the perceived notion of agentic solutions at this point. It's all you hear about, MCP and agents, right? I hope I'm saying that right.
Mm-hmm.
MCP is MCP, right? MVP, MCP, MVT, MCT, whatever. All the letters, they all blur together when you get to be my age.
MCP, the Model Context Protocol, is what you're
Thank you.
referring to. Yep.
Yes. That's the one that allows your model to actually call APIs, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. So I'm almost aware of what's going on in the AI world. I'm
You're a
getting
lot
closer.
more up to date than I thought you'd be, if I'm being honest. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of impressed.
Well, I'm trying to get there, and I'm actually taking part in multiple AI skills challenges to try to get. I would like to take the AI 102 and get that under my belt because I believe that is the future. I don't think you're going to be able to be a developer and not have AI as part of your toolkit and be a leader in that area. So if you're listening to this, let that be your exhortation to just say, yep, let's bite the bullet. Uh, for lack of a better term, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So it's really nice to be a really good programmer all by yourself. But I think Sam Altman just said, we're looking to 10x all the developers at this point with AI. We're not trying to replace developers. We're trying to 10x them, right? So here we go. It's a new world. All you young pups are like, well, of course, we've been using AI since we were born. Why wouldn't we keep using it? And all of us old guys are like, because we don't trust it. And we find out it's lying this week. So, okay, now we're on a soapbox. So let's go back to the AI exam. This circles back for something I said about 2 minutes ago at this point, which is essentially, how do you prepare for the exam? Well, you look at the skills at a glance and you say, okay, what am I good at? Well, if I'm really good at agentic solutions and it's only 5 to 10% of the exam, that is not the right place to start studying because it's not going to move the needle very far and I'm already good at it. But I look at this and I see implement knowledge mining and information extraction solutions at 15 to 20%, or natural language processing solutions 15 to 20%. And I see plan and manage an AI solution 20 to 25%. Wow, that seems like it's probably the most important part. Maybe that plays out through the other parts as well, because it only makes sense. You still have to plan and manage the solution. Probably there's some architecture stuff in there. Who knows? With that in mind, that might be where I would start. It's the biggest part of the exam, probably the area that I'm the greenest at right now. And maybe there's some crossover from some stuff I know and it'd go faster, but that would be the thing that would probably likely be where I'd start. Then I'd look at the bigger ones like language processing and knowledge mining. I'd say, okay, let's get good at those two and Gen AI. But I feel like everybody kind of understands Gen AI at this point, even like the old guys like me. We know what Gen AI is. It's basically just, hey, Chat GPT or my current model that I've deployed into Azure OpenAI, can you give me some C# code to do the thing, right? Or things like that. So maybe I'm wrong.
So, yeah, so to be clear with everybody, if you search your certification to get to that page you're talking about, right? There is so you'd search like AI 102. It would be, in this case, it pulls up the Microsoft certified Azure AI Engineer Associate. Scroll all the way to the bottom under
Correct.
certification resources,
Correct.
exam AI 102 study guide.
Correct.
Sorry, I got lost trying to get there.
It's
And then
very
there's
hard
a
to find.
skills at a glance in Microsoft Learn that pops up. And that's what you're referring to, is that, and then each skill at a glance breaks down into what specifically those higher order
Yes.
things are actually going to be talking about.
Right. So if you look and so plan, create, and deploy an Azure AI service that I said was 25% or 20 to 25%. Part of that is selecting appropriate AI, talks about which one to choose. And then part of it is create the resources, appropriate models, SDKs, and APIs. So you got to read through this and say, well, what do I know about this and what don't I know about this? And then one of my best students right now actually has a checklist that they made for the exams they want to take. And we actually just trained AZ900 the last 2 days. And at the end, I said, could you tell me what's not covered from your checklist? And the only thing was like serverless. And I think there was one other little thing that wasn't necessarily part of the AI 900 training. So we just hit those points really quick. So they feel like they're prepared. If you do the same thing, take an inventory of this, print this out, whatever it might be, put little check marks by the ones that you think you're pretty good at. Before you know it, you'll be like, yeah, I'm ready for the exam.
Microsoft also has the practice exams. I've been told to, and you can confirm this or not because you've passed more exams. You should be batting 100% on their practice exam and Learn, because the real thing is a little bit harder.
Okay, so harder is subjective. So I'm going to use our friend Scott's favorite word, or phrase, which is it depends. I will tell you this: the site itself, I believe, if I recall correctly, says you should be at 80%.
80. Okay.
And I believe that that's a good number. And here's the thing, like trying to be at 100%, that's a really hard number to hit. There's going to be some questions that are just going to be worded in a way that doesn't make sense to you, at least in my experience, or you're reading the question wrong. What I do like about the practice exams more than anything, we're talking about the free ones now. So there are free practice exams for most certifications at this point. In fact, we can find the link and post it on the podcast later, where basically you can go out and you can take this exam over and over again. It's a practice exam. Are they going to give you the questions from the exam? Well, of course not. That would be ludicrous. Then you could just memorize the questions and answers and go and take the test. It'd be like studying, like, why would you even study? Why would
It's
you
just
even
memorization at that
Right,
point. It's not learning.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. But what I will say is that it helps you to understand what you don't know more than anything, because you'll see a question, you'll be like, I don't even know. And this is the thing that gets me in tests. And so I'm an overthinker. I overanalyze. I have a lot of overthinking issues. And when I get into an exam and they present me with a question and it's got 4 multiple choice answers and one of them is something I've never heard of, never in my life do I assume they made that thing up. I always assume it's just something I don't know, which then makes me question my whole life. It's like, well, is that possibly the answer? Because I don't know what it is, right? And that happens more often than I'd like to admit, by the way. But what I'm saying with that is if you get a question on a practice exam that says, what is 2 plus 3, and you don't know how to answer that, the answer to that is 5, you know you need to study addition, right? You know that you can't do math at that point, and you should probably figure out how to get better at it. So that's what a practice exam does for me, is it highlights my weaknesses. So batting 80% to me says I'm pretty good at kind of knowing what the concepts are, and maybe I'm confusing a couple things, and then review your results and say, oh yeah, I'll remember that next time, right? Um,
I
so
think it helps gut check your checklist too, right? Like you might be able to go through the checklist, be like, I know these concepts, but if you take the practice exam and you bomb it all, which again, to get to that, I Googled AI 102. We're again back at the Microsoft certified, yada, yada. If you scroll down, if there is a practice exam under practice for the exam, there is a take the practice assessment page. So you can get through there and see
right,
what that looks like and
yeah,
take that. So you're
and
saying
what?
80%. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think 80%. I mean, if you're getting 100%, for God's sake, go take the exam at that point, right? If you're at 80%, then you're probably at a point where you should at least maybe try the exam. Now, if you're still feeling like, okay, I'm only at 80% with these Microsoft practice assessments, and they may not be good enough for whatever reason, whether you think that they're not the rigorous enough questions that you might see on the exam, or they're just too much repetition on the same things that you already know and not enough on the broadness of what the exam could actually bring. There's a number of things to consider with what might or might not be on your exam versus the practice exam. And who knows? It might be
Uh-huh.
100% like, wow, that practice exam was all I ever needed. Or it might be, oh, that practice exam wasn't even close to what I needed, right? And that comes to your experience too. Like if you've never deployed Azure OpenAI and all you've done is taken the practice assessment, maybe you're not ready for the exam, right? There's some practical stuff to like, you should probably at least play around a little bit. So if this stuff isn't good enough, now Measure Up does offer official exams for Microsoft as well. So that's the one official place where you can buy a practice exam. And those are a little more rigorous, probably. I don't know that I've ever really used them too much. I've definitely given them out as rewards for taking courses with me. Like you take an AZ 900 with me, and I might give you a practice exam and a voucher as part of your seat fee, whatever. But that being said, like I can't imagine it doesn't help. And is it worth the like they had a Black Friday special. I think they were selling exams for like $35 or something like last fall. So a practice exam is not that for okay. Relative to your ability to earn money as a developer, it's probably not that much money. But if you're in a situation where you're a student or something, I can see why that would be like, no, I can't afford another 35. But that
Hey,
brings me up to another point. You can maybe win a free voucher if you do the skills assessment.
yeah. I was gonna say Measure Up also has a subscription plan, so you get unlimited to all of them because there's kind
Oh,
of two different ways,
nice.
right? You can say I want the practice assessment for AI 102, AZ 204, blah blah blah, and you get it. I think it's 10 attempts at their bank of questions. I think is what it is. So if you purchase an individual exam, you get 10 tries. I don't think it expires, or you can pay a monthly subscription fee and you basically get access to their entire test catalog for as long as you're paying the subscription, which I think is like, I want to say $20 a month. I could be
Okay,
wrong.
there you go.
I think that's what that is. But the downside is as soon as you stop paying for it, they go away and you're paid every month, which if you're actively studying, actively preparing, maybe it's not a big deal, especially to your point when you say a normal exam is $165. A $20 preparation fee for the month before so that you don't have to pay it again is cool. Or like a lot of organizations will reimburse you only if you pass.
Yeah, it depends on your company that you work for too, right?
Correct, but still, like a lot of them will do that, right? They'll potentially reimburse you for prep fee and that, but like they don't necessarily want to pay you back if you fail the assessment. So if you're
Right.
you're
That's
paying one
usually
of
not a
those like,
thing.
uh, it might be more advantageous, or maybe your company has some sort of plan in there to get you overly prepared so that everybody is in alignment. I mean, there's special cases, right? Like you might have test anxiety, all that sort of fun stuff,
Right.
but
It could just be a day where you didn't get enough sleep, or, you got in a fight with someone that's important to you right before you went to take the exam and your mind really wasn't in the questions at that point, right?
yeah, and rescheduling is kind of difficult. Sometimes they do roll. I think, am I wrong? Microsoft sometimes has an auto retake that they bundle with stuff too.
There are certain so there are certain vouchers that I can offer you, um, where I can give you I can't remember what the name of it is, but it is a guaranteed, like if you don't pass the first time, you get an automatic second chance. Those are more expensive for reasons, obviously makes sense. So if you pass the first time, you're actually out 30, 40, $50, whatever the extra price is. But if you don't pass, then you're not, then you win, right? Then you're ahead. You only had to pay $60 for the second attempt. I think they're a terrible idea. Sounds really good on paper, but all that is I don't care if I pass the first time.
That's fair.
I mean, it's like, okay, I'm going to go on a diet and I need to lose 100 pounds. That's probably ridiculous. How about we need to lose 20 pounds, right? I need to do it by December. Okay, well, if I don't get it done by July, I'll just start again in August, right? Are you going to really give up your ice cream all summer when you know that you're just going to start in August anyway? No, you're not. So your heart's only half in it. And so if you're going to fail, you're also giving yourself like this, almost this expectation of I'm going to fail. It's like telling the universe, I don't care if I pass and I probably will fail. So I'm just going to get this extra one in case I do that to give myself some sort of comfort. Why not just buckle down and say, you know what? I'm going to pass this on the first try. I'm going to put the effort in. And you know what's really, you said something that, about rescheduling. Rescheduling is actually quite easy.
Okay.
As long as it's within 24 hours, before 24 hours from the exam time, you can reschedule. And there doesn't seem to be a limit of number of times you can do that. And I know that because there was a specific security test that I was studying for, and I knew I wasn't ready. And I believe I rescheduled that exam 5 times
Really?
with no penalty. Right. And we
Okay.
get close and I'd be like, nope, I'm not ready. So here, if you want to say, okay, I need a guarantee that it's going to be okay for me to take it, here's my suggestion to you. Put it on the calendar. AI 102, and my students are going to laugh because yesterday I was in the AI 102 and I almost pushed a button. I'm like, I don't want to do it yet. And I think I have a little gun shy right now. They're like, do it, do it. I'm like, no, no. And here I am today going, okay, put it on your calendar because that means it'll force you to do it. But that's actually the reason I didn't want to do it, because I didn't want to force myself to have to do it. So there we go. I'm exposed.
Taking your own
Uh,
medicine.
right. But if you put it, let's say you're okay, I'm right now in the middle of an AI skills challenge. What's my biggest motivation to actually do that every day? Nothing, except for I can take part in this challenge. Well, if you start the challenge, the way the rules read right now, if you start the challenge, you don't even have to complete it this time you can enter into the challenge to win a voucher. So
Hmm.
there's no incentive in per se other than your own personal gain to complete the challenge. You still have to start it, enroll it. You have to enroll in it, you have to start it, make some progress, I'm assuming. I don't know what the metric is for that, but it just says you have to start it. And then you can enter into the exam queue or whatever they got. They're giving away 50,000 vouchers for these exams. So 50,000, if there's, let's see, I don't know. I would bet there's going to be at least a few 100 million entries, at least, maybe even more than that. But you can only enter once per person, so that will limit. But the odds are going to be not necessarily in your favor, but they aren't also not in your favor. Anyway, you start the thing, you enter the challenge. What's your motivation to keep going at that point? Really not anything except for personal gain. However, put it on your calendar. Let's say, okay, so this thing goes for 50 days. That's somewhere in the end of May-ish at this point, maybe May 20 something, right? Okay, it's May. Let's say it's May 20 something. What's Memorial Day? Like, I don't know. When's Memorial Day? So I'm in America. So Memorial Day is a holiday. That weekend's probably the 26th of May. Wouldn't it be nice to say, okay, the weekend before that is the 17th and 18th, right? So I usually take my exams on a Sunday night in a co-working space. Nobody's there. It's quiet. It's easy to do. So I should just go right after this and put the AI 102 for May 18th on my calendar. Now that's 6 or 7 weeks from now. So that's plenty of time. It would force me to study. And if I get to May 16th, which is the Friday before, and I'm not ready, I just go to the site and I say I'd like to move it to June 18th.
Mm-hmm.
And I give myself another month. No penalty. So it would be June 15th or 22nd or something. But you know what I mean, right? It would be a
Yeah,
move
I gotcha.
and it would be free. So they don't penalize you as long as you come in prior to 24 hours from the start of your exam. If you're doing it online. I don't know about centers. Test centers may be a little different, maybe a little harder, maybe 48 hours because you're actually taking a seat from somebody.
Right, physically.
But I do mine online, which has its ups and its downs. I think it's still more beneficial for me because I could do it on my schedule and I don't have to like go in the middle of the day, like 30 miles away to a center or whatever to do it. So anyway, so that kind of wrapped up the skills challenge. It's a really interesting thing they did. They wanted to set the world record, right? We are awaiting news of whether or not the world record was set. I hope everybody who's listening at least got a chance to participate. All you had to do was sign up on the 8th of April and go in and do like a 45-minute learn module and complete it. Or I think even if you attended one of the online sessions, somehow that counted too, but I'm not really sure. I know for sure that going through the exam or the learn module got me a badge for doing it, which was pretty cool. So that skills challenge is going on. Sign up for a skills challenge, walk through it, submit your thing, maybe win a voucher, take an exam. It's a win-win for everybody, right?
And how do I submit that I want exam?
Like you want to take an exam or you want the voucher?
That I want the voucher.
Okay, so if you sign up for a skills challenge, so if you sign up for one of the AI Skills Fest challenges, it doesn't matter which one, at the very top of the skills challenge page, it says items in this collection, and then it says enter to win a free Microsoft certification and exam voucher. And there's a little paragraph right before the first module. It says enter to challenge sweepstakes. Here's the official rules. Here's how you enter. So if you go to the official rules and read through, you'll see that you're only allowed to enter once. And it took me about 4 hours to figure this all out because it's very not straightforward. But there's probably a 5% chance I'm getting this wrong. But I think at this point, it's pretty clear from what I've read that you can only enter one time only. So one ping only, Vasily, right? So you can only do that one time and it rolls over if you don't win. It looks like the first week they're giving out 10,000 and then consecutive weeks they're giving out 5,000 until the last 2 weeks, maybe another 10,000 each week, right? So you may not win until week 6 or 7. You may win on week 1, whatever. I'm not sure. You may not win at all. Just look for the voucher notification in your email if you do win. But you submit once to the site. It gives you the link to submit to. And once you do that, you should be entered and it should roll over if you don't win week to week. You should not be re-entering based on what I'm reading.
So as you were talking, I just filled this out. And at the very end, it says you've been successfully submitted. Once you validate your submission, you are eligible for a chance to win a 100% discount exam voucher in our weekly drawing. Monitor your email drawings start the week of April 17th, and they run till May 28th.
There we go.
But yeah, so it looks like it is on the top of the skill you talked about. I clicked on the one, for example, for building agentic solutions.
Me too.
I think is the one I did.
The 5% of the AI 102 apparently, but that's all right.
Hey man, I clicked the first one that popped up.
Oh, okay, well, this is the one that was the most interesting to me by far.
Creating agentic AI solutions with Azure AI Foundry. So yeah, I clicked that one. The very first thing, you're right. I scrolled right past it. I didn't even notice it till you called it out. It says enter to win a free exam voucher, which is aka.ms/AI skillsfest/challenge sweepstakes. That is the URL to do that. We'll put it in the podcast description. But yeah, it looks like, I don't know how I necessarily feel about this. Before, it was weird because their challenges historically, they'd be open for like a month and a half. You'd enter in, and if you completed it, I believe you got a free voucher. Just if you got it to say you did 100%.
Yes.
The problem with that for me personally was it kind of sucked because if you were all excited and hyped about the skills challenge, you'd do it all like right then and there. Then you'd have to wait like a month or two to get your voucher. And do you remember enough to actually go do that? I guess I could have looked at it the way you did with the retake and kind of like you can do with like refundable airline tickets, right? I could have paid for one and known I got two. And if I passed, cool, I could have gotten a second. But I either never remembered the email, it got intercepted by spam, or I just never found it, is kind of what happened when I did that. The nice thing about this is I could potentially get my voucher starting the 17th, assuming I'm lucky.
Right. If you win the first week, you'd get it. I would assume you'd
Yeah,
get it immediately that week.
right. So I could, be in the middle of the AI skills challenge still and have my voucher in hand and then maybe feel more motivated to your point, pay attention, keep it going.
So the other thing is, it's very important to note that these vouchers that they're giving out do expire on June 1st or something. So you do not have a long time to hold on to that voucher. So if you get it next week, you should be using it within 6 weeks or you're done.
You're going to be needing to make sure that you stay up to date or have a plan to take the exam, long story short. I wonder if you redeem the thing and then try to schedule it further out, how that works.
Should be fine.
So,
Now, these may be special codes, so I'm not sure, but I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't take my chances too much, but I would guess that one reschedule would be allowed because you'd be like, there's got to be something that could come up, right?
well, and I'm assuming, not being super knowledgeable in how that works, but as long as you pay for it, I'm doing air quotes for you people listening, it's on the calendar, it's booked, it's been paid for. At that point, it probably is just like a normal exam that you could just reschedule it and do all that sort of stuff. So if you get one, just make sure you get it on the calendar before the code expires. Worst case, you could go take an attempt and maybe it's not the best, but best case, maybe you could even reschedule it. We're not guaranteeing that because we don't know. But if you get one, make sure you just get something on the calendar before June. What'd you say it was? June?
I don't know the exact date. I feel like it's the 21st of June or something like that, but I'm making that number up out of my head. I read it at one point, so it's somewhere around there.
It's a couple months later.
21st, 25th. It's not really that long, especially if you win the last week. If you win the 28th of May or something, that's like a 3-week turnaround.
Right. And if you're not already preparing, that could be a rough turnaround.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Cool. Yeah, so check out the AI Skills Challenge. I think I wrote a blog post of the first one I listened to, which was just like an intro to prompting, which was nice because it was a nice refresher on what makes a good prompt, how you should be prompting. All that sort of stuff.
You are a developer studying for the AZ-204 exam. As a seasoned developer, what are the top 3 things that you would choose?
Yeah, essentially, right? That's a good way to start. It was a good one. I think it was great for people who maybe aren't super in the field, and then if you're trying to get into it, right, it's a great level setter. I framed it as it's a great way to start this challenge, right? We're all going to be talking about AI for a month and a half. It was a great foundational, hey, let's level set before we keep jumping into like what is an MCP server, what is agentic AI, what is yada yada. And another thing I'd talk about, like the exams, to your point, building agentic solutions are small now. It doesn't necessarily mean the new exam will keep it small. I remember when I was studying or discussing a LinkedIn Learning course, I think it was Azure Bot Service was like 15 or 20% of the exam, but it was getting rewritten, and then that switched to generative AI. And even generative AI now is even like sub-segmented on it to like specific fields. So like, to your point, just because something is important now doesn't necessarily mean it always will be. So just stay up on stuff. We don't know exactly where it'll all shake out.
Right, and that's so I'm looking at the AZ-204 change logs. Like I said, that was just released today. And so if you go to the study guide or basically to the AZ-204 exam and you look at the study guide, at the very bottom of the study guide is going to be the change log for the things that were changed from the last time the exam. So prior to April 11th, after April 11th. It's very uncertain what exactly that means because like it says prior is develop Azure Compute Solutions, after is develop Azure Compute Solutions. And it says percent of exam increased. So all they're basically saying is that part of the exam got a little bit more important, right?
Hmm.
Minor changes in the app service web apps stuff. Minor changes, they moved some of the monitoring, it seems, to a different section under troubleshooting. It looks like, just kind of looking at this. And then the one thing is like implement caching is removed completely. So sorry, Redis cache. I'm not sure if you're hearing this, but we still need caching in our solutions. Just because it's not on the exam doesn't mean we're not going to use it, right? But that being said, they do take into account, and the exams do morph because of the trends in the industry and what we need to know as we go into the world. It's like, don't like the AZ 204, for example. When I first started studying for it, way back when it was like a 202, 201, 202, 203, somewhere in there, VMs were a big deal, right? Because compute at that point was more lift and shift VM based type of thing. And most of us in the .NET world have always used IIS on a VM, right? That's just how we've done things. But as Kubernetes and Azure Container Apps have taken off, and container instances, and now containerization of .NET projects, and not that everybody in the .NET world is still on board with that, but it is getting more and more to the effect of, more important, the compute solutions making the shift towards containerization. Like, you see Azure Container Apps now could potentially show up on your exam, whereas that's a newer thing. So it wouldn't have been on there 3 years, 4 years ago, because it wasn't even existing then. They have to do that in order to make sure that you're a relevant developer in the world that we live in. So same thing with the AI, right? Is bot service important anymore? Probably. But is it as important as Gen AI? Well, maybe Gen AI is the most important thing because you can't do a bot service without Gen AI, really, right? So maybe you can, but it wouldn't be as good. I don't know.
Well, and I think just the baseline consumer too, right? Like the bot service had like fixed flows you could do where it'd be like, okay, you pick A or B. All right, here you picked B. Now there's 4 options. And like
Mhm.
maybe eventually get you to a text box. But like
Those are so
people,
annoying.
right? That's exactly the point, right? Like the sentiment of that kind of solution is that it's bad, it's old, it's not, nobody liked it.
As soon as I get presented with one of those, I immediately say customer service. I'm not going to sit there and play the game of trying to hit the right buttons to get to the spot that I need. I need you to just give me somebody that can get me where I want to go. So now
Right.
that's going to change, right?
I think just at the end of the day, try to stay up to date, try to keep an eye out. If you're actively studying, it's a bigger deal. If you're not, that's the changelog is probably what's going to show up on your renewal, I would assume, or at least more dense stuff. And you just might lose things like Redis cache just won't be a renewal question.
Potentially, yeah. We don't really
But
know,
yeah,
but yeah, seems
right.
like it maybe.
Speaking of people who don't know, cool. Well, any last minute plugs or anything you want to call out, Brian?
Just that, like I said, the AZ2 changed. Obviously, I'm heavily invested in the 204, especially around app services and now containerization. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I would love a demo and something, let us know. I'd be happy to put together a demo for you, like especially if it's around containerization and you're just not used to it or something. And just let me know, and maybe we'll make something happen.
Well, thanks for your time. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll see everybody next week. Bye, Brian.
Bye, Alec.